Welcome to the channel. I, Elazareth, was sent here to tell the stories that have been erased, overlooked, and dismissed in history of time. No story is irrelevant, big or small. Pull up a chair. We need to have a real conversation about the American South. Because the history books you were handed in school, they left out a lot of the most important shit. They told you a myth and lies. A myth that during the darkest days of Jim Crow, history was only divided into two kinds of people: those who held the whip and those who simply took the lashes. But history has a secret, one that terrified the people in power so deeply they tried to bury it beneath the clay. Picture this. It's the dead of night, 1889, in the heart of rural Alabama. A lawless mob is marching down a dirt road toward a black family's home, expecting to find people praying for mercy. But on this night, they didn't find victims. They found a wall of lead. I'm Elazareth, and today we are unburying the truth about the armed black militias that policed the Alabama Black Belt. To understand why these men did what they did, you have to understand the geography of fear. Look at this map. This is the Alabama Black Belt. It got its name from the rich, dark soil, but by the late 19th century, it meant a region where black people were the overwhelming majority, yet were ruled by a brutal, unchecked minority. Let's be plain about it. The law out here wasn't designed to protect black citizens. The law was the threat. If a local black farmer became too successful, if he refused to hand over his land for pennies, the system wouldn't send a warrant. They'd send the Night Riders. These were homegrown terrorist groups, often local white citizens and lawmen out of uniform. They rode when the sun went down to burn property, enforce submission, and execute anyone who dared to stand tall. And for a long time, the world thought our people just took it. But they didn't. See, a man can only be pushed so far before he remembers who he is. In the shadows of those Alabama pines, a silent pact was being forged. Now, they couldn't just announce they were forming a militia. That was a quick way to end up on a tree. So they moved in silence. They organized under the cover of regular things: hunting clubs, burial societies, and fraternal lodges. But beneath the surface, it was a synchronized defense network. They set up an early warning system. If a band of riders left town after dark, the word went out. A specific whistle, a distant horn blast, or a single shot fired into the night sky. Within minutes, every farm in a 5-mile radius knew the wolves were out. And they brought along a little piece of technology that changed the mathematics of Southern violence forever. The Winchester repeating rifle, model 1873, the great equalizer. Think about it. Before this, you had single-shot muskets, but the Winchester, it gave a lone farmer 15 rounds of rapid-fire protection. The state of Alabama actually tried passing strict gun registration laws back then, specifically to disarm black folks. Kind of like they're doing with the switches on the guns now. But these men, they just greased their rifles, wrapped them in oilcloth, and hid them under the floorboards. And they were smart. They knew defending a house from the inside was a death trap. The riders would just burn it down. So they did something incredibly bold. They went out into the dark to meet them on the path. let me tell you about a night history tried its best to forget. It's autumn, late 1880s, down in Lowndes County. A proud black landowner named Benjamin Turner had been threatened. The riders told him they were coming to teach him a lesson. A mob of nearly 20 armed men rode down that dirt path, confident, loud, expecting an easy night of terror. But before they could even step onto the porch, the woods behind them opened up. Horses whinnying, men shouting in confusion. The defense group had stepped right into their rear. They caught the mob in a classic crossfire. In the pitch black, the rapid-fire click-clack of those Winchesters made a handful of determined farmers sound like an entire army regiment. The mob broke and ran for their lives, leaving their horses and their pride in the mud. The next morning, the sheriff showed up. But do you know how many people were arrested? 0. Because for the sheriff to make an arrest, he'd have to admit in open court that the town's prominent white citizens were moonlighting as night riders, and that they had gotten their ass whipped by everyday farmers. This wasn't just a one-time thing. Across the South, these invisible walls of defense kept families safe for generations. This independent spirit didn't vanish. It became the bedrock. Decades later, when the civil rights movement kicked off, it was these same rural families with hidden shotguns who stood watch over the perimeter while activists slept. History likes to paint the story of our freedom as one of purely peaceful suffering. But the dirt beneath our feet out here remembers something else. It remembers men and women who stood their ground and drew a line in the sand. If you think these stories deserve to be told exactly as they happened, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below, and stick around. We're just getting started. I'll see you in the next chapter.